So, for some of you, apparently I was a little bit too negative after our defeat at Anfield. To clarify, we lost 4-0. We lost 4-0, people. I don't know any football fan who's meant to be positive when you lose 4-0. I don't know who made that rule. I don't know who changed the perception, who changed the level of ambition within our fan base. I'm not telling you guys how to support Arsenal. Please do not tell me how to support my club. Losing 4-0 at Anfield, losing 5-0 at the Etihad, just because some of you say that's acceptable doesn't mean that I find it acceptable. Just because some of you see 5th or 6th or 7th in the league as acceptable doesn't mean that I have to find it acceptable. Just because some of you think progress is 2 consecutive 8th place finishes, statistically our worst league finish in 25 years, doesn't mean I have to like it. I did the right thing last week. I held my hands up. I said if Arsenal went to Anfield and showed something different than they have in the last 3 or 4, 5 years, I would sit here and hold my hands up and admit, yeah, I'm seeing progress. Yeah, I'm seeing something different. They didn't even have to win the game. They didn't have to even draw the game. I just needed to see something different. Do not blame me. Do not blame me for Arsenal's failings. Arsenal have every chance, every week, to prove the likes of me wrong. But what do, they go to Anfield, they park the bus again. Mikel Arteta has no plan B again. The team are mentally weak again. We can see the goal at Anfield, we fall apart, just like we've done in the last 5 or 6 years at Anfield, at the Etihad. Yet again, no leadership. Aubameyang does nothing. No shouting at people, no game management, no putting people back into shape. Nothing. It happens every season, and it's easy for you guys to just call me negative. It's easy for some people, and I know who they are, to kind of mock my weight or mock my speech impediment, etc, etc, etc. Get online, get on YouTube, let's set it up, me and you, one-on-one. I know who these people are. Arsenal at the end of the day could prove me wrong every week, and they fail to do so. You guys now need to know and decide which one Arsenal are, because I've owned it. I've said that since Arsene Wenger would leave, we would regress. We have. We will never win the Premier League under Stan Kroenke. We're further away from winning it than we've ever have been. Mikel Arteta is too conservative to ever do anything with this club, which he shows time and time again. But some of you seem to want to have it both ways. So some of you are happy to go around and boast that he's better than Solskjaer and he's better than Lampard, even though he never finished above either of them. Some of you want to write articles about how Raheem Sterling would not get in this team, how William Saliba, there's no point coming back because he's not going to get in this back four. You want to mock the likes of me, personally, verbally abuse the likes of me because I don't agree with you. And yet, when Arsenal get hammered, get humiliated 4-0 again, just like we got humiliated at the Etihad again, you suddenly want to change and go, oh no, it's little old Arsenal, and pat them on the back, and oh, we've got young players, and oh Dan, don't be too harsh on them. Which one is it? You either think this is a special Arsenal team and Mikel Arteta is this special manager and everything's positive and hunky-dory, or you want to give Arsenal time, and that means you're accepting that everything I'm saying is true, that we're not good enough to finish in the top 4, that we're going to finish 6th and 7th and 8th. And all I've ever said is, what was the point of driving out Arsene Wenger, the greatest manager we ever had, for 6th, 7th or 8th? It's Newcastle this Saturday, and all I want to see is an enjoyable 90 minutes. I want to see an Arsenal that I identify with, that I grew up with. And people want to patronise the likes of my age group and say, well, you're spoiled because you only ever saw Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger was there for over 2 decades. So for over 2 decades, our reputation around Europe, around the world, was that Arsenal played the game the right way. That if nothing else, even if Arsenal weren't winning things, You could sit down and know that, God, Arsenal were a joy to watch. Arsenal were going to make chances. Even at Anfield, when we're 2-0, 3-0 down, 4-0 down, there's not even a thought of let's make chances. Mikel Arteta's, all his substitutes were like for like. You're going home with Martinelli and Pepe left on the bench. And if you guys want to make excuses for last weekend, fair enough. But surely this Saturday at home to Newcastle, I've got every right to expect us to make chances, for us to have a lot of possession, and for us to be good to watch. And if we can't do that, then I love to see what excuses you come out with now. Now, I'm a firm believer that in sport, you need that element of luck that you can't control, and our luck might just be the fixture scheduling. I believe that it's good to face Newcastle at home early, before January, because this time next year, and in years to come, it's going to be a very different looking Newcastle. We have to accept that. They're the richest club in the world. People who don't think they're going to do what Man City did and what Chelsea did are just trying to convince themselves. It's a case of when and not if Newcastle start to win trophies. Hopefully relegation would slow them down by a year, but it would only be that because they've got the resources to just come back up. But we'd rather face Newcastle now than, say, in February, when they possibly have invested some money. I also think there's some fortune for us that Eddie Howe hasn't had a chance to properly train his full squad, and just like last weekend, won't be in the stadium. He won't be at the Emirates. Obviously wish him all the best as he self-isolates from COVID. But I got a bit of a soft spot for Eddie Howe because I grew up in Poole, Dorset, near Bournemouth. I would go and see Bournemouth because they were kind of my local team, with my stepdad, who to this day, he lives in Greece and he still every weekend gets around the radio and follows Bournemouth. But I kind of went to see Bournemouth when they were like League 2 and League 1, when they legitimately had the buckets there and people collecting money. Eddie Howe took them all the way from League 2 with a points deduction to 5 years in the Premier League. I can tell you one thing about Eddie Howe. He's one of those managers who believes in the training pitch, and the longer he can train with Newcastle, the longer he can be on that training pitch with them, he will make them a better team and better individuals, i.e. why I think it's ideal that we're facing him in only his second game, and in a game where he can't physically be in attendance. He's admitted before, ironically, that he's a big fan of Arsene Wenger's ethos, Arsene Wenger's principle. This is not a guy who will send Newcastle to the Emirates to park the bus. If it was under Steve Bruce, we know that would be the case. We know they would park the bus and this would be a comfortable win for Arsenal. It's no coincidence to me that in Eddie Howe's first official game as Newcastle manager, guess what? Newcastle have more shots on target than they have had in any game this season. Yes, it was Brentford. But I think it makes Newcastle a bit more unpredictable this weekend, a bit more of an unknown quantity. Yes, I like to believe that just by what we do, we will force them to defend because we should have more possession. But I think he might treat this like a free swing. I think he will go, A, he hasn't got the players to just play for a 0-0, and B, it's not his values, it's not his ethos, and he might just treat it like a free swing. I still think we'll win, but I think it will be a little bit more cagier than, say, if Steve Bruce was in charge. I'm going to go for 2-1 Arsenal. The longer Eddie Howe has to work with Newcastle, the better they will be as a team, the better they will be as individuals, i.e. why it's good to face them now in a second game in. In terms of our starting 11, I said in my preview to the Anfield game that it would be fascinating to see how our youngsters coped. Which youngsters rose to the occasions, which youngsters drowned, which youngsters could respond to adversity, who was just going to go missing the moment Liverpool went 1-0 up. To be honest, They pretty much all did, didn't they? Um, but I think Mikel Arteta's got to show some good man management and stay with them, which he's got a kind of inconsistent track record with. There's players who he's simply given up on in the past and just paid to sit at home. There's players who he's told the press, he's going to give a chance to, and then he just loans out. These youngsters just need an arm round the shoulder, but maybe taken out of the firing line this weekend. Ramsdale, even though he conceded 4 goals, was again brilliant. Um, he obviously stays in goal. If it wasn't for him, it would have been 5 or 6. Even when he's losing 4-0, he's still making world-class saves. Tavares was like the Space Jam movie, the first one where the aliens come in and just take all his powers. By the end of the game, he couldn't do the most basic of passes, and that's ideal when you've got Tierney sat on the bench, world-class player just to bring in. I wouldn't change any of the other back four, because at right back we really haven't got an option. Cedric's not better than what we've got. Callum Chambers isn't better than what we've got. I want to keep the two in the middle to keep that partnership going, because I didn't think they did a lot wrong, to be honest. In midfield, Lokonga, like Tevez, is another one who he's had a good run of games, but it's one thing playing well against Watford, it's another thing playing against Liverpool. And this is what's going to happen if you've got one of the younger squads. They need to learn that, when people are bigging you up, don't get carried away. And when people are being harsh on you, don't take it too much to heart, which, hey, that's our fan base for you. But now maybe it's a time for Maitland-Niles to have a chance alongside Thomas Partey. I would carry on with Lacazette just behind Aubameyang, because we're at home. There's no reason not to be positive. And then we'll have Smith Rowe on one side and Saka on the other. Let me know, guys, what your prediction will be. Let me know what your lineup will be. And try to share this video. Try to subscribe. I know this is something that the guys at Just Arsenal kind of want to grow. Can't do that on my own. All of you are obviously invited, to do your own videos, fan content. And a little bit like my writing, it's going to be a slow burner. We're all learning here, and we're all going to want to try to progress. As usual, anything football related, anything you want to talk about, I will respond to. Anything that I feels like just a bit personal and a little bit childish, I'm not going to respond to. Quite frankly, I think we're all adults. I think we should be able to cope with your football team losing without getting personal and having a bit of a paddy. Like I said, it's not my fault that Arsenal lose 4-0. It's not my fault that we're not in the top 4. If we were top of the league or even in the top 4 and I was picking fault all the time, then maybe you could say something. But we're not. And quite frankly, we're not going to be for a long time. So share this, guys. Subscribe. Arsenal Newcastle this Saturday. Let me know what you think the score will be. But again, all I want to see is a good Arsenal performance. I just want to be able to walk away from an Arsenal game and go, you know what? They were a pleasure to watch. Have a great weekend, guys. Take it easy, peeps.